All right, it is week 16 of the NFL season. Just 3 regular season games remain. All hope is lost for some teams. Other teams fighting for their playoff lives. Other teams chilling, already in the big dance. I'm going to go through, give you my picks and breakdowns for every single matchup here in week 16. Let's just hop on into it. And we're starting off on Thursday night in sunny Los Angeles. Okay, the 9-5 Denver Broncos traveling to LA to take on the 8-6 Chargers. This is a huge playoff implication matchup. Denver at 9-5, they're the 6th seed currently. LA 8-6, the 7th seed in the AFC playoff picture. I believe Denver can clinch a playoff berth with a win here against the Chargers. And the Chargers, man, are teetering on the precipice. They have easily the worst running backs in the universe when J.K. Dobbins is out. They cannot run the football. Justin Herbert is banged up. Pair that with a banged up Lad McConkey. Now Quentin Johnston's starting to come on. But this Chargers defense, who's been an elite scoring defense this year, is getting toasted the last few matchups against high-flying offenses. Now Denver ain't that high-flying of an offense. I'm not much of a believer if you ask me. Denver, I think, is the biggest frauds at 9-5. Their defense is legit, tied for first in scoring. They have the best cornerback in the lead in Patrick Surtain. Nick Bonito's having a monster season, but this offense, they can't run the football. They're getting kind of lucky, man. They haven't played really anybody. Their only hard games that they've played, they've lost. They haven't won. They lost to LA the first time. The total here, 42.5. Spread is LA -3. I'm thinking this is for sure an under game. I think both these defenses are going to make these offenses struggle mightily. It's also a short week. It's a division game. You kind of know how those things go. But I'm going to take the points here with the Broncos at +3, and I'm going to take the Broncos straight up to win this game. I think LA is just way too beat up on the offensive side of the ball. And if they can't run the ball, they're not going to be able to do anything. Denver's run defense is excellent, and they already are like the worst run offense without J.K. Dobbins. So I'm worried about the Chargers here. Give me the Broncos on the road in an upset and put them in the playoffs. Can't wait to watch them play the Bills in the first round. Now, if you want to see me pick the rest of the schedule against the spread, give you my picks, do all the totals for every single game, check it out. Sign up for a channel membership. Click down below. You get all sorts of access to our weekly exclusive videos every Fridays where I go through and give you all of my best bets for the NFL slate of games. Plus, you get all sorts of access to cool and exclusive perks. Really trying to push out those memberships, get everybody signed up to get all that extra bonus content for you guys. But let's hop into our next one, a couple of games on Saturday. Okay, the 9-5 Houston Texans traveling to the 13-1 Kansas City Chiefs on Saturday. This will be our noon kickoff Central Time, so 1 Eastern. You know, kind of weird games getting into Saturday. You know we're at the end of the season. Kansas City at home here. The big question is, what is Patrick Mahomes going to do? He's got the injured high ankle sprain, but he's saying he's feeling much, much better than when he had that same injury against the Jaguars a couple of seasons ago. So I'm really liking the Chiefs here. Mahomes is going to play. Now, there is a weird schedule. Both of these teams will play on Christmas, so it's a short turnaround Saturday game with another short turnaround on Wednesday for Christmas. But Houston just looks all sort of out of wax. Their offense has gotten really stale, especially with the play calling. If they can't run the football, C.J. Stroud has regressed mightily. Their defense is pretty good. They can rush the passer. Derek Stingley's nice in the secondary. But other than that, they're kind of a sieve back there. But it's not like Kansas City's any sort of offensive juggernaut this year whatsoever. They can't really run the ball effectively. Mahomes is banged up. They can't really block. I love a low-scoring game here, but this Chiefs defense has been one of the best defenses in the league. Give me the Chiefs in an ugly one to basically lock up home field advantage for the AFC playoffs on Saturday. Okay, our second Saturday game, a monster one in the AFC North. The 10-4 Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to the 9-5 Baltimore Ravens. This one has all the division implications you could possibly ask for. Now, Pittsburgh's already punched their ticket to the postseason, but you want to get that home game. You want to win the North. Baltimore right there. I just really am worried about this Pittsburgh offense. You know, George Pickens is questionable. I don't think he's going to play this week. It sounded a lot worse than they initially let on. And we saw the Steelers offense struggle mightily. If they can't take those vertical shots, there's just too much short passing, way too many loaded boxes to run the football against. Now, Pittsburgh's defense is awesome. They're going to give the Baltimore Ravens fits. They did win the first matchup in Pittsburgh, and it was probably Lamar's worst game of the season so far, but Lamar's been playing lights out lately. He's still trying to get that MVP push, even though I think Josh Allen's running away with it. I'm really concerned about Derrick Henry. He really hasn't done much over the last few games. Did have a big game against the Chargers, but other than that, kind of sloppy out there. Mark Andrews back involved in the offense. Ravens defense is playing a little bit better, and they've been tough to run on in general this season. I'm going with the Ravens here. I think the Steelers are just kind of a little bit overmatched offensively, especially without George Pickens. I think it's too much firepower for the Ravens, and these games usually go home and home anyway when these two teams are good. So give me the Ravens at home to make things very, very interesting in the AFC North. Okay, the 2-12 New York Giants traveling to the 7-7 Atlanta Falcons. And really the big news in this one, Kirk Cousins hitting the bench. Michael Penix will be getting his first career NFL start for the Falcons. You know, everybody made fun of the Falcons back in April when they took Penix so high after they just signed Kirk Cousins for $100+ million contract. Now, the pick was a good decision. The contract was clearly a disaster. Cousins has been awful this season. He's not fully healthy, or he is just old and washed. And the Giants, is it Drew Lock? Is it Tim Boyle? Is it, Tommy Cutlets? Who the hell knows who's at quarterback with the Giants? Plus, they got a first overall pick to try and stay competitive with. They're still in the running there. They're currently the second pick, and Atlanta is in the thick of it. They're a game back of the Buccaneers, but they hold the tiebreaker in the NFC South, and they're right there in the NFC wildcard race as well at 7-7, and they play the Commanders, who is a team right in front of them currently. So everything to go for. They're making the move at quarterback. I am a little bit worried about Penix in his first start, but the Giants are just damn awful. So give me the Falcons here at home. Take care of business and make things very interesting in that wild card and NFC South race. Okay, the 12-2 Detroit Lions heading to the 4-10 Chicago Bears in an NFC North matchup. Probably weren't expecting these two records to look like this. Maybe the Lions pretty close, but the Bears at 4-10, losers of 8 in a row, 9 in a row. They've lost 1 million in a row, it feels like, for Chicago there. And honestly, this game has upset written all over it. Chicago's played the division pretty well this season. All around, Detroit is just so banged up. They have nobody left on their defense. Jared Goff has been playing great. They lose David Montgomery, so the running game loses its little change up. It's all one speed now with Jahmyr Gibbs. He's a great running back, but offense much better with the two different types of running backs. And Goff outdoors, man, we could be looking at bad weather in Chicago. With that being said, this Bears team is just awful. They are poorly coached. Caleb Williams is fed up. Give me the Lions here to take care of business on the road, stay in first place in the NFC North, and that first overall seed in the NFC. Maybe a little bit closer than Lion fans would like, but I think the Bears are just so bad overall as a team right now. So give me the Lions to take care of the business. Okay, the 3-11 Cleveland Browns traveling to the 6-8 Cincinnati Bengals. Two massively disappointing seasons for these two teams. Both these teams have their eyes set on the playoffs. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Is it going to be Jameis Winston, or is he permanently benched? We're going to go to DTR there. But that being said, the Bengals defense has been playing a little bit better the last few weeks. But is that just a product of facing Will Levis, who was awful last week? Joe Burrow's been lights out, MVP type season, almost at 4,000 yards, 36 touchdowns. Jamar Chase at 1,400 yards. He's been awesome. Looking at a wide receiver triple crown. Chase Brown's been solid. This is just all Bengals all the way. As good as the Browns defense has kind of been, they're just really not that good. They're going to quit on this season, and awful quarterback play. I don't know what they're going to do. They can't run the football. Nick Chubb broke his foot on top of it. So it's just all bad for Cleveland. Even as bad as the Bengals defense is, they're not going to be able to score enough points. Give me Cincinnati at home to probably be eliminated still, but maybe keep that small chance of them making the playoffs alive. Give me the Bengals to get the win. Okay, the 3-11 Titans traveling to the 6-8 Indianapolis Colts. Will Levis is out. His NFL career is over. In steps Mason Rudolph. Anthony Richardson holding on for dear life, but I think this is probably the end for Richardson as well. And the Colts honestly looked pretty good for most of that game against Denver. It fell apart in that second half, late third quarter-ish, but they should have won that game. Jonathan Taylor drops the football going into the end zone. We know how that goes. I think Tennessee is just bad. Their defense is overrated. The numbers are a little skewed because of all the turnovers, so the yards look good, but the scoring is bad. The Colts are semi-competent, and they're going to be able to hit some big plays here or there, especially at home. They'll be able to run the football. Anthony Richardson will have one or two nice long connections. Give me the Colts here to win this game. Hang around in that playoff spot, but realistically, their season's probably done after the loss at Denver last week. So Colts to win and probably have a very difficult decision to move on from their top drafted quarterback coming up here soon. Okay, the 8-6 Los Angeles Rams traveling to the 4-10 New York Jets. I know Jet fans assumed the record was going to be opposite for this team. This kind of felt potentially like a Super Bowl preview coming into the season, but you know, it is the New York Jets. Rams are one of the hottest teams in football right now. They're 8-6, currently in first place in the NFC West, and they're coming off a 10 days rest after the win on Thursday. Now, the Jets have been playing lights out the last few weeks. Once they got eliminated from the playoffs, the Jets all of a sudden figured out how to run an offense. They can get the ball to Devontae Adams. They still can't run the football at all. The defense isn't good anymore because they fired their only good defensive head coach, and that's basically how things work. I think this is actually going to be a spicy game a little bit. I think the Rams could give up some points here, just how good the Jets have played. Outdoors, cross-country, cold weather could slow this team down a little bit, but they are going to be able to run the football. The Jets aren't a very good run defense. We still have Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp out there. I guess Cooper Kupp's still out there after a goose egg in the first round of the fantasy playoffs. And the Jets secondary just ain't like that anymore. I don't know what happened to those guys. So give me the Rams to win this one. Keep the hot streak rolling, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people expect. The Jets are going to find a way to jet it up late in this one. Okay, the 12-2 Philadelphia Eagles heading to the 9-5 Washington Commanders in a major NFC East showdown. You gotta love the end of the season. We're starting to get some great divisional matchups. Eagles currently in the playoffs. They are in first place in the division, and they are fighting for that number 1 overall seed. While Washington kind of on the bubble now, they did get a big win in New Orleans, barely last weekend. I think this is a huge spot for the Commanders to go out there and take care of business, go get a dub, put some pressure on the Eagles in the division, secure that playoff spot. Essentially, it would be really tough to fall out of the playoffs if they get a win this week, but the Eagles are just way too much of a horse. This is a much better experienced team. I think they're going to be able to shut down any sort of run game for Washington. Jaden Daniels is going to struggle a little bit. We know the passing and offense has been inconsistent at times this year. And the defense is kind of, whatever, man. They've been good sometimes, bad other times, better than what we thought they were going to be. That was a dreadful second half against New Orleans. Eagles kind of figured some things out offensively, passing the ball. Jalen Hurts loves a good throwing the football and drama in the locker room. Saquon Barkley is on an MVP-esque season. So give me the Eagles, just a much superior football team. Commanders ahead of schedule. They're a little bit too young for the big stage right here. Give me the Eagles to get the win, secure the division, and have a very, very close race for that number 1 overall seed. Okay, the 7-7 Arizona Cardinals traveling to the 3-11 Carolina Panthers. And Arizona, man, they were looking really good just a month ago, man. It was like, oh man, Arizona's going to win this NFC West. They lose 3 in a row. Now, they did bounce back last week to get to 500 against the Patriots, but I really wasn't impressed at all with how the Cardinals looked. I thought Kyler Murray was a little just kind of whatever. They can't get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. They could run the ball semi-effectively, but it wasn't any sort of impressive performance. And Carolina, who's been one of the hottest teams in the league that wasn't getting wins, man, they were pushing the Eagles to the brink, the Chiefs to the brink. They looked like they were due, and they were awful against the Cowboys. Saw a little bit of a regression from Bryce Young back to what we used to see from him. Just awful, awful quarterback play. Pair that with real inconsistencies running the football with Chuba Hubbard. Man, he was having a great season, and now it's kind of slowed down a little bit. The receiving core is banged up, and the defense isn't very good for Carolina. I'm going to take Arizona to get the win here, but I'm not loving it, man. I just don't like what I see from Arizona. And maybe Carolina gives us a little bit more of what we saw in weeks prior to last, where they really push teams. I think Carolina is due for one of these wins. Wouldn't be surprised if it's this week against the Cardinals, but I'm going to take the Cardinals again to tighten up that NFC West and that final wild card spot. Okay, the 3-11 New England Patriots traveling to the 11-3 Buffalo Bills, and Josh Allen probably locking up the MVP last week. 10 touchdowns in his last 2 games. We're talking 40 burgers, back-to-back games, but that defense has also given up 40 points in back-to-back. Probably not going to see that traveling back home to Buffalo. You know it's going to be nasty weather out there, and New England is just terrible. This is a horrible football team with a horrible head coach, but I do like Drake May. Drake May is a really good quarterback. In my opinion, I think he's going to be awesome. And you know what? Buffalo's got 2 decades of pain to get back on the Patriots. They're going to keep dishing it out as long as the Patriots are down and the Bills are up. They're going to get some payback on them. No letdowns here for Buffalo. I think they smash the Patriots at home, try and keep pace with the Kansas City Chiefs, and who knows, maybe the Chiefs lose on Sunday and they are right back there for that number 1 overall seed. But worst case scenario is make sure you lock up that number 2 spot so you play like the Broncos or, I don't know, the Bengals or somebody who creep in that first playoff game at home. So give me the Bills to lay it on the New England Patriots. All right, we have the 3-11 Jacksonville Jaguars going to the 2-12 Las Vegas Raiders. This is as much of a toilet bowl as we're going to get this season. Some major first overall draft pick implications. This is just such a bad matchup. I mean, both these teams play hard and then find ways to lose it in the end. Who is going to be the more incompetent team? I'm not quite sure. Now, Aiden O'Connell might play at quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. I think that's a bit of an upgrade for them. Brock Bowers is awesome, man. He has way outlived his expectations. He's going to shatter like every rookie record for his receiving goes, not just for a tight end, but he's really threatening that Puka Nacua records he set last year. The running back situation's a mess. The defense is a mess. Max Crosby's now done. Brian Thomas Jr. is the lone bright spot, I feel like, for this Jaguars team. I'm gonna take the Jaguars in this one. I think they're just a little bit more talented. Mac Jones isn't good. He's not horrendous. Same kind of with Aiden O'Connell. It's just like, oh, I don't know, man. This is like a toss-up game. But give me the Jaguars to not screw it up. Vegas is going to semi-silently tank to get Shadur Sanders in easily one of the least hyped quarterback draft classes we've had in a long time. Okay, the 6-8 San Francisco 49ers traveling to the 6-8 Miami Dolphins. I don't know if anybody had these 2 records for these 2 teams. Maybe the Dolphins, but I think everybody was on the 49ers bandwagon. The season from hell. But this is a loser leaves town. The loser will be eliminated from playoff contention here. 49ers coming off a 10 days rest and a disaster performance at home against the Rams. Dolphins, Tua was dreadful. Now they're going to be at home playing a team below 500. These are all great metrics for the Dolphins here. But I think the extra rest, Brock Purdy was also bad. I think the good weather helps San Francisco. It's just going to give them a little bit of an edge. They've actually been okay running the football. George Kittle still out there having a good year as far as he's concerned. And the Dolphins, man, I just don't trust this team whatsoever. Mike McDaniel's a bad head coach. As much as it sucked for San Francisco, it's probably going to suck a little bit more. Win another game, give them some false hope. Give me the Niners to take down the Dolphins. And yeah, just kind of a weird game in this one. All right, and to cap off the late games, my 12-2 Minnesota Vikings taking on the 8-6 Seattle Seahawks. This is another big NFC playoff implication game. Minnesota is already punched their ticket, but they control their own destiny for the NFC North and that number 1 overall seed. And Seattle, they are now tied with LA for the NFC West title, plus they are right there in the wild card mix. So this is a huge game for them. I think the biggest thing here is Minnesota has struggled mightily going to Seattle. Easily their worst matchups since these 2 teams have come into existence. Minnesota's lost 5, 6, 7 in a row, something like that at Seattle. We just seem to have bad bounces. Weird stuff happens. Games we dominate, we would lose. But Russell Wilson isn't at quarterback for the Seahawks anymore. It's going to be Geno Smith. He is banged up, probably going to play. I don't think that bodes all well for this Seahawks team. They really can't block. Minnesota, one of the best pass rushing teams in football. They also create a lot of havoc and turnovers. I think this is going to be an ugly game. I do expect the Seahawks to come back after a dreadful performance Sunday night against the Packers. Minnesota coming off a short week. I think this is going to be an interesting close game, but I think my Vikings defense is going to win the day and just a beat up Seahawks offense. Minnesota finds a way to get it done. Maybe an ugly performance all around. Give me the Vikings to move to 13-2, keep the pressure up on the Lions and the Eagles for that number 1 overall seed. Okay, Sunday Night Football, the 8-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to the 6-8 Dallas Cowboys. Kind of a sneaky, interesting game here. Cowboys realistically out of the playoff picture because they had to muff that blocked punt against the Bengals 2 weeks ago. Otherwise, they'd be sitting at 7-7 and right in the thick of it. Tampa Bay, another one of these super hot teams. They have a 1-game lead in the NFC South. They've been playing excellent. Baker Mayfield looking awesome once again. Bucky Irving, probably the surprise to a lot of people. They run this football great. Mike Evans coming back on. He's only 151 yards away from that, or 251 yards away from that 1,000-yard season. So he's got to put up some numbers in these last 3 games. But you know what? Dallas has been running the ball well with Rico Dowdle. The defense has been a lot better than it was in the middle to early part of the seasons. And Cooper Rush is kind of like, whatever, man. He's not terrible. He's not terrible. I think this is going to be a weird game. Give me the Cowboys in an upset here. I think the Cowboys actually just like kind of ruin their season. It's December. They can't make the playoffs. They now aren't going to get a good draft pick because they're going to win a weird game. Buccaneers take a step back and make things very interesting with a new young Michael Penix starting for the Falcons. I think it's going to tighten up that NFC South race. And one thing we can know about the NFC South is it's always going to be goofy. It's always going to be wacky. And you're probably going to be below 500 to win that division somehow. So give me the Buccaneers getting taken down by the Dallas Cowboys in an upset on Sunday Night Football. Okay, and finally on Monday night, the 5-9 New Orleans Saints traveling to the 10-4 Green Bay Packers. And this one's not going to be close, folks. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be for the New Orleans Saints. Is it going to be Jake Hader again, who was just dog water? He was awful. Spencer Rattler looked okay against the Commanders, but this Green Bay Packers team has been playing great football. You look at their 4 losses. Their 4 losses are to the Lions, the Eagles, and the Vikings. 3 teams with 12 wins. They lost the Lions twice, and they play the Vikings next week. Could this be a look-ahead spot? I don't think so. This is just a really good football team that pounds the rock. They play pretty good defense now. They turn you over a lot. New Orleans is in for a hell of a trip out of the Superdome and into the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Give me the Packers in an ass-kicking on Monday night. They're going to have a lot of fun in Lambeau. So that's going to do it for us this week. Let me know down in the comments below, who do you like this week? What are your picks? You got any cool upsets out there? If you haven't already, drop a quick like on this video. Subscribe to the channel. We got daily sports content for you guys. If you want to support the channel more, sign up for a channel membership. You get all sorts of access to cool and exclusive perks. That weekly members-only video every Friday where I give you my best NFL bets, picking every game against the spread and the totals each and every weekend. Again, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.